probably a tough one out there. You are a Michigan fan after the 33-37 loss to Michigan State. It is a game in which it's hard to take because, in my opinion, Michigan was certainly the better team. Michigan State made just a play or two more and came at the worst time for Michigan. Michigan made mistakes at times in which it absolutely could not afford to make mistakes, which is, again, it's something that you cannot have in this type of game. Michigan had the opportunity to put the game away relatively early in the third quarter. Certainly, it felt like Michigan was about to put the game away. I mean, Spartan Stadium was a mausoleum. But there's a lot of factors that went into Michigan losing this game. We're going to touch on a bunch of them real quick here. But one of them, and I'm not going to complain about the officiating, but certainly when you do not get the calls on all 6 reviews, it becomes an issue. Now, it's one thing if it's because, okay, it makes sense that you're not getting these calls because they're just so blatantly wrong. But when none of them were called confirmed, it was called stands. And one of the things about that was, I understand with the Kenneth Walker touchdown, that call stands, right? The refs and the cameramen did not have the same angle I did. I have a picture where the ball appears to clearly be out right at the goal line. Fully out from my vantage point. Okay, it's call stands. But with that, if that call stands, so too does the Aiden Hutchinson touchdown, right? That's where you start getting into some weird moments. Yeah, they called a couple blatant holds. There were certainly a lot more. Then you have a hold on Andrew Anthony that is negligible. So, but here's the thing, and we say this all the time, you have to play better than the refs. But they do play a part. Officiating is a part of it. Officiating can cost you a game. That is something that is 100% true. So that's one part. The failure to execute defensively when it became pretty evident how Michigan State was going to beat you, that's Kenneth Walker. You had to find a way, whether it was keeping your safeties deeper or something, to be able to stop Kenneth Walker from getting more big runs. Clearly, like, we all had it backwards. I think a lot of people thought, based off of what, myself included, based off of what Kenneth Walker didn't do against Nebraska or Indiana, that he was not going to be able to do it against Michigan. Everyone, myself included, thought that this was going to be a Peyton Thorne, Jalen Naylor, Jaden Reed game. That trio was all but neutralized. It was Kenneth Walker that won the game. And perhaps it was a slow to adjust moment. Perhaps it was a lack of execution. I don't know. I have not gone back and watched the game or anything. But something didn't work on that front. And it seemed like he got better as the game went on. Mistakes made on Michigan's end. Of course, the fumbles there late, and then obviously the Cade McNamara interception that happened as Michigan had the ball in the waning moments of the game. I kind of had a feeling that going into this game that if you trifled a lot, and this was one of the things that why I've been so much on the be careful with the J.J. McCarthy thing. I was fearful that if Michigan put him in a crucial situation, that he was going to make a freshman mistake. Now, I don't know that necessarily botching a handoff is particularly a freshman mistake. We don't know. It was starting to rain. Was the ball slippery? What was there miscommunication? I'm not really sure, but right before JJ went in that last time, I was talking to another photographer and I said, if you're Michigan, JJ McCarthy has to be done for the day. I understand Cade McNamara very well may have been in the medical tent, but still, that was a moment that you could not afford to have. Not in that moment. So some of those things were coaching. I had a giant problem with when Michigan had the ball, the penultimate time, with about 2 minutes left to win the game. On 3rd and 3, they take a deep shot to the end zone. When you just needed 3 yards, you had 2 downs to get 3 yards. At that juncture, I'm probably going to do something a lot more safe, and I'm going to try to drain the clock, because what are you doing? Why are you trying to go for it all right now and give Michigan State 2 minutes to win the game? Especially, it's like, I can understand when you say lean on your defense. At that point, the defense, I was not sure that they could stop them, where the first half it felt like Michigan State could do nothing. So this was a culmination of everything. This was a Murphy's Law type game when it came to what were you going to do, essentially, to lose the game. And anything that could help Michigan lose the game happened. So that's really disenfranchising, of course. But there is some good news coming out of this game. Multiple things that are good. I know you don't want to hear it, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. Number one, we do know that Cade McNamara can truly pass the ball. Yes, he had the interception in the end, tried to force one in there. It was not a good decision. But for the rest of the game, Cade McNamara was absolutely stellar. Absolutely stellar, with almost 400 yards passing. His accuracy, for the most part, was really good. Of course, he missed on a few, and I know people will say, well, but he missed on this. Go and watch a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. Tom Brady will miss on a few. It happens. It happens to every quarterback in the country. That's just a weird thing that people like to nitpick on. But Cade McNamara was stellar. I think that tells you that, okay, if Michigan can get some more balance, if they can have a passing performance like that and some explosive run plays, which they obviously did not have this game, then yes, you do have the opportunity to beat Ohio State. Ohio State just played Penn State. I predicted that game to be more in like the 48-14 type variety, and it didn't end that way. Ohio State won by, I think, 2 scores, but that was a close game all the way through. I tuned in when it was 17-17 after getting home from East Lansing. The other good thing, aside from the fact that you saw excellent execution in the passing game, and I should not move on before mentioning Andrell Anthony, who finally, it looks like you have a guy that can go up and get a 50-50 ball. That's another coaching thing. They went away from that. If I was Michigan, I would have just basically said, we are going to throw to Andrell Anthony and Eric All until you stop it, because both were stellar. Absolutely incredible. But again, they kind of get away from it. Now, the other part of it, though, is when you look at the season as a whole, Andrew Vistardis said after the game, this season is not over, not even close. And I know there's a lot of people that are on fire everybody mode and hey, we can't win against Michigan State, and it is a failure. I am not saying it's not a failure. Michigan, at all 7 games that Jim Harbaugh has played against Michigan State, Michigan has had no business losing any of them. The only one I kind of give them a little bit of leeway for is 2017, because you had a backup quarterback in, and clearly not a very good game plan. Every other game that Michigan has lost to Michigan State, it had no business losing, and yet Harbaugh is 3-4 against the Spartans. But think back about 2011. Again, I harken back to that year. What do you think of when 2011? You think of it being an 11-win season. You think of Michigan beating Ohio State. You think of the Sugar Bowl. I would be hard-pressed to think that many of you have the front of mind to think, well, Michigan lost to Michigan State that year. Everything, as the players say, everything is still there for these players. If they win out or win 3 of the last 4, obviously a loss to Ohio State and Michigan State this year, that's going to feel pretty bad. But at the same time, if you went into this season knowing what happened last year, not knowing what happened this year, and you said Michigan could be a 10-win team going into the bowl game, the unfortunate thing is the losses will be to Michigan State and Ohio State. I think many of you would be obviously disappointed with that, but also would take it given what the team was last year, given that the thought that there was no chance to win in Madison, no chance to win in State College. Now, Michigan still obviously has to win in State College. They can't play a game like they just played. Penn State is going to be very hungry. It just lost 3 in a row. It has another game before that, but still. Nonetheless, things are tracking in the right direction right now. But they need to figure out ways to not lose games that are this big of this magnitude. You could have slayed every dragon, beating a top 10 team on the road, beating your rival. Michigan didn't do it. I was talking with Jake Budd over the weekend, and we both agreed Michigan essentially feels cursed. And it's felt that way since Bo Schembechler died. Losing the Ohio State game that week and everything that's transpired since. This is not a Jim Harbaugh problem per se. These are things that have been happening long before he came to Michigan. Michigan needs to figure out a way to dig out of it. Anyway, we will continue the analysis, most likely looking back, because it's Indiana this week. Certainly, if Michigan does not beat Indiana, there are bigger problems afoot. But we will continue looking back this week on the Morning Drip. Thank you for watching. We will talk to you again soon.